Hello, this is WKCE Radio with Sarah Saleh. Today we are doing the Unit 7 exam, um, Part 5. The question is, what were the domestic policies of the two of the following presidents? Be sure to explain the issues. Truman and Eisenhower, Truman and Kennedy, and Eisenhower and Kennedy. Of course, I chose Truman and Eisenhower. To start off, Truman, President Harry S. Truman, turned his attention to the pressing needs of Americans. The present needs being the 12 million soldiers returning to look for jobs, homes, and financial security. Citizens who had sacrificed to defeat fascism wanted an end to shortages of consumer goods. The reason being that right before the World War II, there was the Great Depression, when nobody could buy as much as they could, of course. If regularly they couldn't buy, most people couldn't buy anything. And during World War II, there was many restrictions on goods because of the great need for supplies and materials. The task of bringing stability and prosperity to all Americans, however, would prove impossible under the pressure from both the citizens, the veterans, and African Americans who had fought as hard as their white counterparts to win the war, demanding equal rights and protection under the law. Truman, a New Deal Democrat, delivered a message to Congress on December 6, 1945, which laid out his vision for post-war America. He listed 21 main policy accounts, including a minimum wage, guaranteed employment, medical insurance, housing aid, improved benefits for war veterans, and wage and price controls. Powerful forces opposing Truman's platform, congressional Republicans, and even some Democrats, had begun to view social welfare programs as unnecessary giveaways. Business people argued that price controls prevented them from earning profits. Workers wanted raises, not wage controls. Of course, as Truman struggled to piece together a workable economic plan, strikes and shortages of consumer goods strangled the nation. More than 5,000 strikes occurred in 1946 alone. Supplies of durable goods such as washing machines and automobiles, and even a bit of basic commodities such as bread and meat, grew scarce. Consumers who could afford to pay extra patronized black marketeers. Others went without. All of these hardships against President Truman public anger at labor unions grew. Even Truman, whose main constituency was labor, felt compelled to act. Starting in late 1945, he seized numerous businesses and forced strikers back to work by executive order. Occasionally, labor defied him. Moving on to President Dwight D. Eisenhower. During the campaign of 1952, President Eisenhower criticized the statist or big government programs of Truman's Fair Deal, yet he did not share the extreme views of some Republican conservatives. These old guard Republicans talked about eliminating not just Fair Deal, but also New Deal programs and rolling back government regulation of the economy. Eisenhower favored a more moderate course, one that he called modern republicanism, which preserved individual freedom and the market economy, yet ensured that government would provide necessary assistance to workers who had lost their jobs or to senior citizens. He intended to lead the country down the middle of the road between the unfettered power of concentrated wealth and unbridled power of statism or partisan interests. As President Eisenhower thought the government should provide some additional benefits to the American people. He signed legislation that expanded Social Security, increased the minimum wage, and created the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. He also supported government construction of low-income housing but favored more eliminated spending than had Truman. As you can see, as you can hear, I guess, from what I had said earlier, I guess President Truman had a harder time as president than President Eisenhower, especially since now you know that everyone referred to Eisenhower's years as the happy days, the time between the difficult, divisive issues in the 1960s and the wars and depression in the 1930s and 40s. President Eisenhower had it easy, as I guess you could say President Eisenhower had it easy and made faster, more straight decisions since the pressure was less. President Truman, on the other hand, took a longer time making decisions and also proved still successful underneath the pressure.